In the legendary film Rashomon, we discover that the truth is never simple. Each perspective reveals a different story. What you're about to hear is a true Rashomon tale from Hollywood's darkest corners. Which version do you believe? It was 1927, and the glittering lights of Hollywood couldn't mask the dark secrets lurking beneath the surface. Paul Kelly, a ruggedly handsome actor on the rise, was entangled in a scandal that would stain his career forever. Dorothy Mackaye, a dazzling Broadway actress, had caught his eye. But their romance wasn't a simple affair. It was wrapped in deceit, jealousy, and eventually death. Dorothy Mackaye wasn't single. She was married to Ray Raymond, a popular vaudeville performer who, by all accounts, had his suspicions about his wife's growing fondness for Kelly. What started as professional admiration between Dorothy and Paul soon turned into a passionate, clandestine love affair. Raymond wasn't blind. He could feel the tension in the air, the way Dorothy spoke of Paul. One night, that tension exploded into violence, and only two people knew the true nature of what happened next: Paul Kelly and Dorothy Mackaye. But as with all good Hollywood scandals, the versions of that fateful night vary wildly. Let's dive into the different possibilities, each one more twisted than the last. In one version of the story, Paul Kelly was just another man swept up in a volatile love triangle. Ray Raymond, furious at his wife's betrayal, stormed over to confront Kelly. A heated argument broke out. The men, both fueled by rage, threw punches. Raymond, larger and more physically imposing, was the aggressor. Kelly, finding himself overpowered, fought back out of necessity. It was self-defense, an act of survival against an enraged, cuckolded husband. According to this version, Kelly never meant to kill Raymond. The fight escalated out of control, and Raymond collapsed, fatally injured after a hard blow to the head. Dorothy Mackaye, horrified at the scene before her, could only watch as her lover defended himself against her furious husband. Kelly, arrested for manslaughter, maintained that he had acted in self-defense. He hadn't gone there intending to kill anyone. It was a tragic accident, one that could have happened to any man caught in such a heated confrontation. But was it truly an accident, or was there something more sinister behind the violence? There's another version of the story, one whispered in the back lots of Hollywood, where every secret eventually makes its rounds. In this telling, Kelly's actions weren't so innocent. Paul had been consumed with jealousy. He knew Dorothy was still married to Raymond, and despite the affair, Dorothy wasn't planning on leaving her husband anytime soon. That night, Kelly had come to confront Ray Raymond, and things got physical almost immediately. Some say Paul, in his fury, struck Raymond down with intent, not in self-defense, but in a fit of jealousy and rage. Witnesses later claimed that the fight seemed one-sided, that Kelly's blows had been more calculated than spontaneous. Could this have been a crime of passion, a deliberate attempt to rid himself of his romantic rival, once and for all? And what of Dorothy Mackaye? Was she an innocent bystander in this scenario, or did she play a role in pushing Kelly to violence? In the final version of this scandal, Dorothy Mackaye is not a passive figure, but the orchestrator of the tragedy. In this telling, she had grown tired of her marriage to Raymond and saw Kelly as her way out. She had whispered in Paul's ear, encouraging him to stand up to her husband. But her motives went deeper. Some say she manipulated the entire situation, fueling Paul's jealousy and stoking the fire that would eventually lead to Raymond's death. The confrontation between the two men, according to this version, wasn't an unfortunate accident, nor was it spontaneous. It was a carefully orchestrated plan, with Dorothy pulling the strings. She knew Paul would lose his temper, and she counted on it. As Ray Raymond lay dying, Dorothy was already crafting her next move, ensuring that Kelly would take the fall while she walked away free. In the days following the incident, Dorothy was arrested as an accomplice. The press had a field day with the case, painting her as the femme fatale at the center of a deadly love triangle. Her letters, exchanged with Kelly, hinted at her role in the violence. though nothing was ever definitively proven. But was Dorothy really that cunning? Or was she just a victim of circumstance, caught in the crossfire between two men whose tempers spiraled out of control? Paul Kelly served time for manslaughter, spending 2 years in San Quentin before being paroled. His career, once promising, took a nosedive. Dorothy Mackaye, on the other hand, served less than a year in prison for being an accessory after the fact. Remarkably, both Kelly and Mackaye managed to rebuild their lives after the scandal. Kelly returned to acting, though he never regained his former glory. Dorothy married another man shortly after her release and attempted to return to show business, though her reputation was forever tainted. But the mystery remains. Was Ray Raymond's death a tragic accident, a crime of passion, or the result of a carefully planned scheme? 3 versions. 3 possibilities. Which one do you believe? Was Paul Kelly a man defending himself against an enraged husband? Or was he a jealous lover, pushed to the brink? And what about Dorothy Mackaye? Was she an innocent woman caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, or a puppet master pulling the strings behind the scenes? In Hollywood, the truth is often stranger than fiction, and in this case, the truth may never fully come to light.